And under fire, Trinidad government senator defends his receipt of government contracts as he accuses the opposition leader of reckless accusations. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, August 20th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The government senator whose companies have received government contracts is insisting that any business given to those firms was all above board. Senator Foster Cummings sought to defend himself and his companies after opposition leader Kamla Prasad-Bissessar contended that Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has questions to answer about the award of the contracts. Cummings, who is also General Secretary of the governing People's National Movement, PNM, said that not only did the award of the contracts predate his entry into politics, but that he went through all the necessary procedures when bidding. TV6's Jewel Brown has more.
Before a crowd of her party faithful, opposition leader Kamla Prasad-Bissessar raised questions about the firm that got the state contract to demolish the Besson Street police station.
Well, I want to ask what special skills PCAL Services had to demolish a building. Let's start from there. According to the documents filed in the company registry, PNM General Secretary Foster Cummings and his wife, Juliet Morris, they are the directors and shareholders of Cummins and PCAL. Contract number 1 awarded to PCAL, the General Secretary of the PNM, government senator. A project managed by UDCOT.
TV6 News spoke with Senator Cummings via telephone on Monday.
The statements coming from the leader of the opposition, I consider to be reckless and intended to sabotage my business, because it's no secret that my family business has been in existence since 1998. This predates my entrance into frontline politics.
He said that business has survived several administrations.
Every contract that we have ever been awarded has been as a result of us putting in competitive bids, and at the end of the evaluation process, we may have been awarded, we may not have been awarded. And that is just the opposition leader and members of her party knows that is what the procedures are.
He said the information is no secret as it is available on the company registry.
So I don't know what mark the leader of the opposition attempted to bust. All of this information is public information.
He also responded to claims that she made about the award of contracts to PCAL Services Limited when Dr. Rowley was the housing minister.
Well, that one is even more ridiculous. It's 15 years ago. I think she was talking about contracts in 2004, if I remember well. And those contracts have nothing to do with any minister of government.
The opposition leader spoke of another contract awarded by UDCOT.
A contract was awarded to a company by the name of Clydon Enterprises Limited for construction of a community center at Indian Trail. Who are the directors of Clydon Enterprises? We don't have Foster Cummings' name in it, but we have linkages to him.
The opposition leader knows of any wrongdoing on my part or on the part of the companies I'm involved in. She knows where she can take that information. But the way she dealt with it was intended to use innuendo to damage me and to damage my business.
Meantime, the chairman of the Urban Development Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago, UDCOT, Noel Garcia, also told TV6 News that neither he nor the Prime Minister is involved in the tendering of any contracts to any companies. And he defended the tendering procedures of the state-owned property developer. He said the process is transparent.
That tender procedure is open to scrutiny. UDCOT does not award contracts on the basis of party affiliation or on the basis of individual.
Staying in Trinidad and Tobago, the Opposition Congress of the People's COP, which was once in a coalition as part of the People's Partnership Government led by former Prime Minister Kamla Prasad-Bissessar, says it will be going it alone in the upcoming local government elections. COP political leader Caroline C. Prasad-Bissessar sought to make that clear amid recent rumors about the future of the party.
We are not together with the United National Congress for the upcoming local government elections. We are also not together with the People's National Movement. We have held no discussions with the PNM or the UNC in this matter. We have had no discussions as well in terms with the PEP. I make this very clear here today, and if I find out, because we have made it very clear this morning at the National Council meeting, am I clear, that those people who continue to misrepresent this party.
The International Monetary Fund, IMF, says it's confident that Jamaica will be able to weather a global recession. Concern is mounting about a slowdown in the U.S. economy, and last week, increases in short-term lending rates triggered fears that trade tensions between the U.S. and China could lead to a recession. Speculation on the issue in the U.S. led to concerns that such a recession could have a ripple effect on the Jamaican economy. But the IMF resident representative to Jamaica says the country is well prepared to deal with a global recession.
The fact that the macroeconomy is more stable, the fact that what we call policy buffer are stronger, made the Jamaican economy more resilient. As the Jamaican people has been doing, the focus should be on the local economy to adopt the right policies that would help Jamaica navigate global, external forces. So we believe Jamaica is an economy that is well prepared today. So when you are hit by a shock, your level of reserves matter as to how you're going to absorb the shock. Your what we call fiscal space, which is essentially your debt, difference between where you want to be and where you are today. Those are elements that allow countries to navigate those global forces. And again, the Jamaican economy is much more prepared today than it was 6-7 years ago.
While staying in Jamaica, banana farmers are worried that the deadly Panama disease could reach the island's shores. The fungal disease has been affecting Cavendish bananas for decades, but earlier this month it was confirmed in Latin America for the first time. And Jamaican farmers fear it could wipe out the entire industry if it reaches the island. In this report from TVJ News, we hear the concerns of some farmers and producers.
The Fusarium, or banana wilt, more popularly known as the Panama disease, has the potential to wipe out the local banana industry.
Panama disease race 1 has reduced what was Gros Michel growing all over the country to Gros Michel growing in little pockets. It has the possibility to do just the same thing.
The devastation was in the 1950s and 60s. However, this strain, the tropical race 4, has been around since the 1990s. It has never made its way into the region until August 8 this year. Colombia became the first to have the disease, putting regional authorities on high alert. Most at risk to this T4 strain, the Cavendish variety, which is the most widely produced locally. This means the devastation could be just as bad, or even worse than before, leaving farmers worried.
It would be a total devastation if it come here. And banana is mostly small farmer deal with banana. Whether small or big, you will have a rough time.
Any resurgence would have a devastating effect on the general banana population. Most farmers, including myself, we do treat for the black Sigatoka strain of disease, and it is really costly.
However, if it comes,
there is no chemical control. There is nothing that you can spray, nothing you can treat to kill it.
But how does the disease spread?
It comes with people. It comes on equipment, it comes in soils, it can come on tools that you have used there and you have not disinfected, you haven't done anything to.
And with a recent announcement of plans to increase airlifts between Jamaica and Latin America, the risk of getting it here is even greater. But those aren't the only means of transmission. Even imported used cars could spread the disease. Countries such as Ecuador, which produces 5.5% of the world's bananas, have taken a few steps to prevent its spread. This includes a ban in the importation of all banana products.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, another attempt to be made to impeach Haiti's president. We'll be right back.
When you think of what we went through with Hurricane Irma, you had to be able to recognize what are the things we need to do to cope with the aftermath. The psychological trauma, to me, is probably the most telling on a lot of people.
Preparedness is the key. So when people are prepared, when people have what their resources in terms of how they can cope with the disaster, they're better able to be able to return to their normal life. They're better able to make decisions that are informed for themselves and for their family, and then for their community. Be ready. Look, listen, and link.
Continuing in Haiti, the Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, Gary Bourdeau, says legislators will on Wednesday seek to resume their attempts to debate a motion aimed at impeaching President Jovenel Moïse after a second attempt last week failed to materialize. At least 21 deputies had filed the motion accusing Moïse of high treason, claiming that he had violated the Constitution and was leading the country to the edge of social explosion. Bourdeau also announced that the ratification session for Prime Minister Fritz William Michel will take place on Friday. Michel, a former executive in the Ministry of Economy and Finance, has named an 18-member cabinet and is awaiting his time to present his general policy statement to Parliament. Ghana's Attorney General Basil Williams says plans are moving ahead to establish a law school in the country, and revenue from the oil and gas industry could help. He says despite several setbacks, local authorities are still pursuing the plan, even though they have not yet been given the green light by the Council of Legal Education, CLE, which falls under CARICOM.
I have a plan. I just told you with oil and gas, we'll have a law school. But we could also model it after Bahamas. They built, and then they went under the umbrella of CLE. In fact, what that meant was Bahamian students had to practice in Bahamas. And if a few who had money to spend $100,000 US of tuition, apart from accommodation and so, when they graduate, they couldn't practice in Bahamas. So basically there's a parallel here, because here's where everything is happening. This is where all the resources will be. So perhaps if you have a law school built in Guyana and Guyanese lawyers are graduated, they practice in Guyana, I don't know they need to go anywhere else to practice. This is where the money would be and the opportunities.
Meanwhile, the government has announced the opening of applications for full scholarships for law graduates to attend the Hugh Wooding Law School in Trinidad and Tobago. It's the first time that full government scholarships are being offered to any prospective student of the law school. The scholarships are open to both first and second year students. Without scholarships, Guyanese law graduates would have to pay the Hugh Wooding Law School a tuition fee of almost $8 million Guyana dollars for the 2-year program. The entire Caribbean is participating in CariFesta 14 in Port of Spain, Trinidad this week. The event kicked off with a grand ceremony at Queen's Park Oval last Friday, and there's been strong participation from visual artists from around the region. Their works are being displayed at the National Museum and Art Gallery in Port of Spain. Museum curator Lorraine Johnson says she's pleased with the level of participation.
We have about 10 or 11 countries on display here, and I'll whisper to you that about 3 of them are still outstanding. So we got a really good response from the region this year in participating with their visual arts.
Barbados' cultural ambassador Mighty Gabby was one of the performers on Country Night.
Fishing bites to catch fish without thanks. Bajan, fishermen.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, a former West Indies all-rounder says the Caribbean side is at its lowest point. Stay with us.
Let's get you going. and I'm going to get your weight. So you want to start off by weighing. Every morning, you've got to weigh yourself. And you will see yourself drop every day. We won't tell anybody what we see.
Show this.
No. We'll tell you afterwards, okay? We'll get the reveal, all right? Okay, great. You can step off. I've written that down. You got a chart in your booklet.
Okay.
So it's so great. So I'm writing it down. Okay, good. All right, now stand up real quick for me.
Oh, you got to do this other stuff.
Now,
It's gonna be something special. We're gonna come together. It's a meeting of the island. There will never be a time like this one. We come to connect, share and invest. Turn the eyes of the world to CaribVision. Tell the cultures to come and bring their best. CaribVision 14.
Former West Indies all-rounder Dwayne Bravo says changes must be made in the rank and file of the Caribbean side if the team wants to make a resurgence to the top of the game. Speaking on CNC3's Morning Brew program recently, the former ODI captain said he believes the side has arrived at their lowest point, given the fact that lower-ranked teams are now beating the West Indies in international matches.
It's sad to see the state of West Indies cricket at the moment. I think for the last... We know how long West Indies cricket been struggling, but I think this is the lowest point for some time. And, you know, everyone is calling for changes. You look at the World Cup just finished, and you see countries like South Africa, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they all make drastic changes. And I think it comes a time where, you know, you need to make changes as well. And I think in the Caribbean, West Indies cricket, a lot of people afraid to make brave decisions, and even though if you're an outspoken individual, they consider you as a rebel or a bad influence on the team. But I think the team need stronger leaders, and not only on a captain level, but from administrators level and stuff, from senior players. They just need to be stronger as individuals.
Bravo, a former West Indies one-day captain, called time on his career last October, citing the need to preserve his longevity as a professional cricketer. He had been repeatedly overlooked by selectors and last represented West Indies 3 years ago in a T20 series against Pakistan in the United Arab Emirates. While the Trinidadian gave his pick on the next West Indies captain, he says only time will tell when selectors make a move on current skippers Jason Holder and Carlos Brathwaite.
Jason has been in charge of the team for 5 years, Carlos 3 years, so not much success. So I think sooner or later, eventually, a time will come where the selectors may have to consider a change or something like that, but that's not for me to say. But I think I will definitely back Karen Pollard to be a white ball captain for West Indies, whether it's one day or T20. But he's a very good leader, and he leads from the front. I think all of these guys try their utmost best to lead from the front, but sometimes if something is not working or it's not happening, then maybe you can try to look elsewhere to get the team into a different direction.
Meanwhile, regional cricket commentator Fazir Mohammed expects an uphill battle for the Windies in the upcoming Test series against India. Speaking with TV6's Vinod Narawani, he said the Windies will have to bring their A game in the 2 matches. He also weighed in on the selection of Rakeem Cornwall to the regional squad.
Test series in the Caribbean saw the West Indies beating England 2-1. This time they are preparing for a 2-match series against the Indians, who are ranked number 1. The opener bowls off on Thursday in Antigua, and revered cricket analyst Fazil Mohammed gives India the edge.
India will start favourites, not only for the fact that they've dominated the T20s and the one-dayers, but because of their vast experience. They're bringing in players who are experts in the longer format of the game. Chiteshwar Pujara has already gotten 100 in the warm-up match that is being played ahead of the first test in Antigua, so it's going to be a really tough challenge for the West Indies.
Mohammed says in order for the Windies to shine against the Indians, they need to display the same type of form and confidence that they did against the English. Regarding the team selection, Mohammed isn't too pleased that bowling all-rounder Rakeem Cornwall has made the cut. While he respects Cornwall for his ability with both bat and ball, Mohammed wonders if the higher authorities at Cricket West Indies have set any standards with regards to fitness levels.
It has to be said that Cornwall, for all of his success with the ball at the regional level and for West Indies A, he's a liability in the field. He lacks the mobility that is necessary, and indeed it will open up the West Indies if it does happen that he makes his test debut either in Antigua or Jamaica, and there are issues with his mobility either in the field or running between the wickets. It will open the West Indies up to ridicule at the very highest level of the game.
And what does he predict the scoreline to be in the two-game series?
At this point, I would see it going 1-0 in favor of India based on current form and the way these teams have been projecting through the T20s and the one-days. There's, of course, always room for an upset, and there's even room for intervention by the weather. But at this point, I see India winning the two-match series 1-0.
The last time India played a test series in the Caribbean, which was in 2016, they won 2-0.
To football now, Michael Johnson, the Guyana Golden Jaguars head coach who led the team to their first Gold Cup, has tendered his resignation. HGP's Samuel Gills tells us why.
Senior men's national team's head coach Michael Johnson has accepted a position in England that will be announced soon and thus has tendered his resignation to the Guyana Football Federation effective from the 13th of August. The GFF has since appointed Marcio Maximo as the interim head coach for the 2019-2020 CONCACAF Nations League campaign, effective 21st of August. This development follows Johnson's tenure with the Golden Jaguars, having led the team to its historic participation at the CONCACAF Gold Cup 2019, which no doubt had boosted his professional profile and created the opportunity for him to advance. President Wayne Ford, on behalf of the executive committee, said he was proud of the work done by Johnson, especially in aiding the professional development of the senior national program and the credible performance of the team at its inaugural Gold Cup participation. Meanwhile, Maximo, a Brazilian national, comes to the post with over 30 years experience as a coach and coaching instructor at both club and national levels. To date, he has coached the Brazilian national under-17 and under-20 teams and many other teams. He's expected to arrive in Guyana next week and will reside in Guyana during his 8-month tenure and will work with Guyana-based senior national team players to improve their chances of breaking into the team.
And finally, in horse racing, Trinidadian jockey Preven Badri produced a clinical ride aboard 3-1 Choice, I'm Evan, I'm Leaving, to capture the feature 100,000 Canadian dollar Century Casino Oaks at Century Mile on the weekend. Up against the 3-year-old fillies in a trip over 1.1 miles, Badri stalked with the Greg Tracy-trained brown filly before taking command in the stretch and romping to the wire 2 lengths clear in a time of 1 minute 49.93 seconds. Meanwhile, Jamaican jockey Dane Nelson suffered a massive disappointment on Sunday when he was disqualified after winning the 250,000 Canadian dollar Canadian Derby with 7-1 chance Journeyman. Going 1.25 miles in the feature race 10 at Century Mile, Nelson combined with the 3-year-old Bay Gelding to nip 4-1 Bet Explode at the wire by a neck in a time of 2 minutes 1.52 seconds in a tight duel down the lane. But Explode's rider, Amadeo Perez, lodged a protest against Journeyman, claiming interference in the lane, and stewards upheld the review, disqualifying Nelson. And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
All right, guys, we're going straight into our women's finals here in beautiful Racine, Wisconsin. We have Amy and Lisa versus Jessica and Delaney. Lisa starts us off. serves that over to Delaney. Delaney goes on up into the block of Amy. She hits over on one. Delaney hits it over on one. Amy goes back up. Returns to Taylor.
The moment she paddled out, everybody on the beach was just spellbound. Nobody thought it was possible.
God gave me this passion to surf, and it wasn't like that passion had been taken too.
How she's been able to adapt and be the powerhouse that she is, I don't know how she does it.
She trained her butt off.
It takes a lot of strength and willpower to get that one success.
A recap of the day's top stories. And under fire, Trinidad government senator defends his receipt of government contracts as he accuses the opposition leader of reckless accusations. And in sport, former West Indies all-rounder Dwayne Bravo says the Caribbean side is at its lowest point and changes must be made in the squad in order for it to return to the top of the game. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CaribNews.com, and for more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.